Live tonight from the Kansas Speedway, it's the United Sim Racing B and C Lawn and Landscaping Truck Series here for the Kansas 134 here with these guys, and it's going to be championship dice time in the second round, second or third race of this championship hunt of the second round. So we've got a good decent amount of drivers here in the championship run now. We've got 8 drivers that are left after the first round, and tonight is going to see who makes it to the final 6. Actually, I should have said top 9. So you've got Seth the Merchant, Jamie Walker, Christian Peterson, Scott Simley, and Bobby Terrell in your top 5 with Scott Formosa, Justin Michael, Michael Atkins Jr., and Tim Matthews as the drivers that are going to be racing here to save their championship hopes. And the top 6, those drivers will go on. But Randy, the Kansas Speedway, 1.5 mile oval, it's a lot different than a lot of the other ones because this one you typically race towards the top of the track. Kansas Speedway in particular for me is my home track, so it's very fun for me to see it in the sim as we will be able to see these drivers take the high banks of this place. Very dark speedway, very much so, and has a lot of speed, and we will I think one of the most interesting and challenging things about this is that we've had 2 different winners in the last 2 races, and we'll see if that streak of different winners in the stages will continue. So that's the Merchant after Watkins Glen then won the Dover race the next week, but that was from round to round. And so we'll have to see if whoever wins tonight's race will have that momentum to go forward if they're in the championship hunt. So we'll go through your starting grid here at the Kansas Speedway. Seth the Merchant, he gets the pole with a 31.577. He'll grid right at the very top with Jamie Walker starting in second. Christian Peterson will start in the 3rd position with Kyle Manger to his outside. Aaron Bennett, he will start in the 5th position.
Bob Gillenwater, he's going to roll off in 6th, rounding out that 3rd row. You have Bobby Terrell and Michael Priester. They're going to start 7th and 8th there on row number 4. And then rounding out your top 10 is going to be Scott Formosa and Jeff Ryan.
Starting 11th, Tommy Ryan, and you've got Scott Simley starting in the 12th position. Michael Atkins Jr., he'll start in the 13th position. John Jenkins starts 14th with Ralph Vandervorst. He'll start in the 15th position with Matt Mara, John Wilco, and Steve Herring starting 16th, 17th, and 18th tonight, respectively. As we said earlier, this is a 1.5 mile oval right in Kansas City, Kansas, as there is a Kansas City, Missouri, and a Kansas City, Kansas, but actually pretty far away from, about 20 minutes away from the downtown city, but kind of in its own place with now the newly renovated amenities with the casino there in turn 2, which they actually have nicely put into the sim. So you can actually, if you go to the Kansas Speedway, you can actually see the race from there, but you kind of have to pay a pretty penny, so you better do get the slots.
Well, if there's anything that's probably more boring than real gambling, it's probably simulated gambling.
Right. I think you can actually go to the casino if you really wanted to, the sim, but I don't think it'd be.
But not if you're under 18. You got to steer clear of it if you're under 18. Even in the simulated world.
Pretty sure it's 21 though, isn't it?
Well, it depends on the state. Some states are 18, other states are 21. I'm actually not sure because it turns out Kansas City is not too close to San Diego. At least not on most days.
It's a little farther. It's about in the the heartland. It's quite a ways, but nevertheless, these guys are about to roll off. It looks like we're waiting for Christian Peterson to start gridding up here, and these guys will start to get onto the track actually. So Christian Peterson will start from pit road. It looks like. So unsure if this is by design or whether he just missed it, but he did make a qualifying effort, but is not gridded up. So this could be an issue for him. I don't think it's going to be too big of a deal for him as he's 3rd in points and just needs to have a decent day tonight, and he'll be able to keep it there. But we've got 1 lap until this one starts here on the back straightaway.
Yep, so Mike's already out, of course, on that iRacing safety car. We're going to be going to green flag racing here in just a couple of moments. Then going to be an interesting race here at Kansas. It's a small grid here, Coop, which is never the greatest situation, but at the same time, trucks at Kansas tend to put on a good show. So I think even though there's only 18 cars rolling off, we're in for a cracker.
Seth the Merchant will line up to the left side of JB Walker, and Seth the Merchant, he'll try and go two races in this stage for wins. He'll try and go 3 races in the championship hunt for the chase. Here goes the pace car off into pit road. Seth the Merchant has to decide when he goes. He's going to go later than earlier. He's really holding these guys up. Green flag is in the air, and he goes right when the flag is displayed. We are racing at Kansas for 134 laps here. He gets a good jump, and look at the number 3 of Aaron Bennett taking that spot away from the 23 who did not have it earlier. The bottom's hooked up good for DeMerchant. See if it's the same for Aaron as he's going right down to the bottom.
Gonna run through that middle groove. Everybody does down off towards down this back straightaway for the first time, and the fight there between the 88 and the 3. That's Jamie Walker and Kyle Manger already heating up. You see already people dividing here. Typically you see the upper groove, but you see a couple trucks go to the bottom and a couple trucks go to the top here as they come off of corner number 4.
A little bit of 3 wide action with the 14 and the 4 of Bobby Gillenwater and Bobby Terrell and Bob Gillenwater. Got the Bobs mixed up with last names, but we're 3 wide here in turn number 1. Number 22, the 2 in the middle, the 10 on the top. It's working out for now. The 22 gets real tight, but the 2, Michael Atkins Jr., he makes it out pretty on that one. So 3 wide action already in this race. It's something you wouldn't typically expect, but these guys need to get going pretty quick, because it's not easy to pass once those tires get really worn in. So as we see side by side with the 3 and the 25 of Aaron Bennett and Kyle Manger, Aaron Bennett has moved back just a little bit from where he started. Of course, it says he's gridded in the 5th position. He realistically started in the 3rd position, as Christian Peterson still has not made it out there on the track. Actually, it looks like he has, but he's much farther back. He's actually just now entering turn 1. So these guys, leaders in turns 3 and 4, DeMerchant now being hunted down by Jamie Walker. We'll see how long that lasts, or whether Jamie Walker will be able to catch him.
We did also have a little bit of an issue come from Jeff Ryan in the number 10, coming off the, I believe, corner number 2 last time through. He got into that outside wall, might have a little bit of outside damage, and he actually scrapes it going into 1 this time. And that's one of the things you have to talk about this racetrack, because for most of these drivers, in terms of getting up and getting into the outside wall and making a mistake like that, typically it's the only time you see people do that is when they're coming off 2 and 4, because most of the racetracks are running the bottom, if not the middle, a little bit more rarely, however, in that situation. But because you're up against the wall all the way around here, it doesn't take much of a mistake to immediately throw yourself up into it.
Right, and damage earlier on in this race could really be harmful to your long run speed, because this race has the potential to have some long green flag runs, and it already kind of looks that way with how spread out these guys are at the moment. And any kind of damage here, it's such a momentum-based track. We say that a lot at 1.5 mile tracks, but this is especially true because of how high up the racetrack these guys are. There's not really much angling once you get that close to the wall. So something these guys really have to pay attention to. If you already have damage, it's something you really need to check, because this could really be one of those races that's dictated by that. We have our first caution of the night. Don't know exactly where it's going to be. Looks like Jeff Ryan and Steve Herring got tangled up in turn number 1.
So we're going to get a replay of that up on your screens. See exactly what happened here.
It looks like Ralph van der Vorst got into the 10, but the 10 hit the outside wall. He just ran out of space, I guess, on the exit of the tri-oval.
So they're coming into the tri-oval right now. Let's see what actually ended up happening, though. See the 10 machine go all the way down up against the grass and towards turn 1. Yeah, you're right. That 10 car, and I talked about him having found that outside wall a couple of times already, and that time he flat out, I mean, he just plowed it going into turn 1. I mean, that was just sort of a, no other way to say it, kind of a silly little mistake to make there.
Yeah, and we'll have to see if he's able to get this truck going, and he's definitely not going to have the speed. It's definitely damaged.
It's killed.
Yeah, there's no way to be nice about that. I mean, that truck is destroyed, rear end, side. I mean, he got hit right in the door. Surprised he didn't get too much engine damage, but one driver who's also going to be a little bit damaged is Ralph van der Vorst. He was kind of in the wrong place at the wrong time. But we're going to see all these drivers come down pit road for service. That's going to be a big deal because of the fact that we kind of expected this to be a little bit longer green flag run. Is anyone going to take 2? I expect everyone to take 4 just because of the potential that this race has for long green flag runs.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to go for 2 here just yet. You know, if that's more of a late in the game sort of thing, yeah, track position is valuable. But that said, only a few laps have been done thus far on those tires. If you have a truck that's a little bit tight, Coop, you might risk the right side tires only to maybe be able to loosen that car up a little bit. It'd be a decent call over making an adjustment and pick you up some track position. But at the same time, sometimes you just need to be calm, cool, collected, and go with a safe call. That said, the 57 of Seth the Merchant thought he might have been a little bit slow on the stop. And oh my word, Jamie Walker, I don't know what the gap was, but he barely missed the cut in getting around Seth the Merchant there.
That was very, very close, and that was a fun race to watch. And yeah, I think the Merchant was not as aggressive as the 88 was on that, but
the 88 got a penalty.
Oh, possibly speeding. Gonna have to take a look. I don't think he was on the exit, but I'll take a second look at the clock because a pit road speeding penalty would be 45 miles an hour. He was going 49 when he exited, so that's an easy penalty right there.
And it's one of those things, Coop, that you can sort of on the iRacing pit road speeds, it's a little bit of a give and take. You might say 60 miles an hour, but sometimes you can enter a little bit more quickly and then slow down. And then similarly, you can run a little bit slower through the pit lane and then exit a little bit quick. But of course, when you're coming from your pit box that short and then immediately get in the line the way the 88 of Jamie Walker is, you have no time to potentially give that time back.
And while we follow behind the pace car, the lights are off. And so teammates Seth the Merchant and Kyle Manger will now be lined up side by side. And you got Bob Gillen, Aaron Bennett, and Michael Priester. That's your top 5. And we talked about certain drivers not having some oddities. We're going to find Christian Peterson and Jamie Walker at the back of this field right now. So kind of one of those interesting things where those two are going to have to try and see if they can get their way back up to the front. And then anyone in between is going to try and see if they can make their crack at the lead at any point. Maybe get themselves get some lat sled, get some time up there towards the front, and see what they can do with the Merchant and Major, as they're probably going to work this restart together and make sure that they can get a good advantage. So coming through turns 3 and 4, a little bit of time between the pace car coming down and making sure that these guys are ready to go here on lap number 9 for more green flag action. Seth the Merchant on the bottom, Manger on the top, 57 and 25. Pace car down and away. Merchant's on the gas pedal. He's going green flag in the air.
Got a truck actually slow up on the top. Who is that? That's deep in your field. Trying to get a look behind Jamie Walker. It's either Matt Mara or John Jenkins. Big wiggle from them, but out in front regardless. Seth the Merchant, the 57. He's going to slot it down to the bottom. We're 3 wide nearly as they work off corner number 2.
Yeah, see that right there with you guys. Remember, yellow flag is also back out again. I'm not sure what's going on. Looks like Matt Mara had some kind of issue on that start and actually can never get that truck going.
Yeah, he was the car I saw slow.
Yeah, so I'm guessing he couldn't get it in the gearbox or something. Something was, I don't know, something's really messed up because he was accelerating but at a very slow rate. Almost as if his gas pedal on his rig or something. But yeah, he was in neutral at some point, but then couldn't get in the right gear. I've never seen anything like that before. I don't know if you have.
I mean, I've seen technical issues in the past, and he's always on the throttle. It's super. It's almost like a wheel disconnect or something. We're not right on board with him here, so you can listen to the throttle a little bit more closely, but just listen to it. It kind of picks up, but never goes into gear.
Yeah, you definitely hate for that to happen, especially if they're the driver making it happen, and then you kind of have to wonder, well, what exactly happened? You know, what can you do to make that?
I think his pedal's disconnected.
Yeah, I think it was just at the wrong inopportune time. But typically, when you disconnect, you'll have all 3 pedals go straight to the floor. At least that's what I've noticed with my rig. You'll get the wheel turned straight to the left, and then all 3 pedals will go straight to the floor, so you'll brake very quickly. So I think either his wheel is much different than mine, or something completely different happened. Either way, it's definitely some kind of failure, but I think he's got it good now. But I think something interesting about this is that we've got some guys coming down pit road.
Yeah, but at the same point, they went a full 100 yards on the tires there, so I don't think the undercut's going to quite pan out.
Well, they did use the right sides on in 1 and 2. So I think these guys are possibly thinking that any
You're
advantage
trying
they
hard
can
to
get.
make this seem interesting, Coop.
Hey, but I mean, hey, think about it. I mean, Jamie Walker and Christian Peterson don't really have anything to lose. They're at the very back anyway. So,
Yeah, that is true.
hey, I mean, less than 1% of wear. I mean, hey, that's now an advantage that Peterson has, and he'll take anything he can get. I think that's really important to know.
Yeah, it's definitely, I mean, it's something to keep in mind. And actually, the other thing to really keep in mind is talk about that car that we just saw bring out that yellow, Matt Mara. Yeah, he's 1 lap down, but if he's having technical issues, he's rolling around fine under the caution now. Does that potentially happen again?
Unsure, really. I think he'll be good, but I think he'll also be behind everyone else. I don't think he'll be able to bring out the caution this time. But I could be wrong. I thought it was way clear out of harm's way when he did come down. So yeah, he's coming down pit road. This time, perhaps he'll get stopped in his box. Double check everything, and make sure that it doesn't happen again. As looks like we still have at least one more lap of pacing behind the pace car. Matt Marr was just given a UL penalty, so he should start at the very end. So that should make sure that even if it does happen again, the caution won't happen. We'll get back to racing.
Yeah, it's definitely the situation. We're seeing that 22 of Matt Mara. He's still down on pit road, and I believe the left side just got dropped, and he's keeping it down there. So I think he's going to be down there for a while getting some repairs. The lights are still on that iRacing safety car, so we're going to have a few more laps around this place before we get back to green.
So the running order is DeMerchant, Manger, Gillenwater, Bennett, and Priester. And that was the same as it was when we just had that most previous restart, but just about everyone behind him is doing pretty similarly. But something I would mention is that these guys are starting to save, because every strategy that they just had, I think, just flew completely out the window of if this was supposed to go long green flag, and that happens. We get races that well, if it goes green all the way, this is what we have, but we can never be too sure of if it's going to go green flag or not. I think this really puts a really odd one, especially since these guys came down for more fuel during this most previous caution, and it looks like maybe they'll come back down again, but I think they're just shading that for now. They're just kind of maybe taking the shortest route and maybe saving even more fuel. These guys can't make it that much that long on fuel because they have a limited fuel cell, but they can still make it sometime. So iRacing pace cars lights are off in a way. Pace car's not down and away yet, but the lights are as these guys start going to turn number 1.
Yeah, they're going to head off and start forming him back up. And, well, if you're a little bit nervous coming to the last restart, Coop, it's one of those things now where it's sort of the worst situation, because I know I've had it, doing various oval races, be it stock cars, be it open wheel, or be it short track. If you sort of get amped up for a restart, say, I'm going to pick up some spots, I think I got a good truck, and then you start fighting, maybe you get yourself in a good spot, and then as you come off too, the caution flies, and it's just a weird mental reset as you go from that big high and a bit of an adrenaline rush, and then you immediately have to crash and pace around under yellow. And some drivers I've seen in the past, when it comes to getting quick cautions and quick, after a restart like that, they struggle on that next restart.
That's definitely the case. We'll have to see what exactly transpires here on this restart. Guys are going to be on edge, and I think what we'll mostly see is people being a little bit cautious, because these guys were really aware of what happened with the 22, but they definitely don't want something like that to happen again. And everyone getting into second gear here, everyone was definitely saving on that last caution, as we had a lot of caution laps just now. So that's DeMerchant ready to lead these guys back to the green flag, and it's out. Big jump by him. He gets over half a truck length over the 25 before the start-finish line. Back racing here at Kansas.
So since DeMerchant wastes no time, the 25 of Kyle Manger, he drops to the bottom to make sure that he can sort of protect that inside a little bit from that number 4 of Bob Gillenwater, but he's nowhere to be found. He's getting a little bit of push from the driver behind him, but overall the top 2 away and clear.
Almost 3 wide here in turn number 3 with Christian Peterson going all the way down to the bottom. He almost gives the numbers, the 64 of Michael Priester a tap. Was very close. Peterson wants to get right underneath him, but 64 is trying to do both justice. But 3 wide, here we go. 80 on the top, 64 in the middle, 23 in the bottom. We're going to get a lot of space, give a lot of space here, but Michael Priester is just a sandwich here, and he does not like it. Peterson's going to try and move up the track a little bit.
No.
Almost coming to contact. That just shows you the skill he has, but he got the position from the 64, but lost so much momentum right there. And then the guys behind him also want a piece of this.
They went 3 wide to 2 wide to 3 wide going through that corner. And not only that, but they all swapped positions on where they were on the racetrack entering corner number 1. The truck up high was still up high, but the middle car became the bottom car, and the bottom car became the middle car there through 1 and 2. So very well done by those guys to not somehow have a huge catastrophe. But one of the things running here at Kansas, Coop, is that when you have those 3 wide moments at most racetracks, you either want to be on the top or you want to be at the bottom. Or you can, well, excuse me, let me rephrase that. You either want to be on the bottom or you want to be on the middle. Here at Kansas is a little bit odd because the middle groove just simply doesn't work because the bottom's shorter way around and the upper groove has that little bit of banking and in clear track it's the quicker way through. So because of that, when you see those 3 wide situations come up more often than not here at Kansas, whoever that truck is in the middle ends up losing out.
Yeah, and you see Michael Atkins Jr. get passed on the outside by the 64 and the 88 here. And you were definitely right when you said that the top side is just so coveted, and those drivers have to go to the very bottom of the track, and there's just not much momentum there. As you're watching, I looked at Aaron Bennett trying to get by Bob Gillenwater up there. He went to the inside. It did not work out, and he lost a lot of momentum there to the number 80 of Scott Formosa. And it's one of those things where you don't ever want to be that guy to try and make the pass on the bottom, but at some point you get a little frustrated and you think, you know, this is, I need to get moving. I need to pass somebody. But really, I think you're just looking for a mistake after some long runs on these tires. That's really what it comes down to, especially with this field. I mean, you lose one spot, you're going back pretty far. At least that's what it looks like right now. And so unless you get some real speed off the corner and try and get them on the high side, or you get a courtesy from somebody, you're not passing on the bottom.
Yeah, it's very difficult to pass here, but we're going to see someone try. Aaron Bennett, he goes to the bottom here on Bob Gillenwater. We were right on board with him for a little bit, and he goes to the bottom and shoots up to the top side of the racetrack. Notably doesn't lose a whole lot of ground, though. And so for that number 3 Cabela's machine, he sort of started on the bottom and kind of basically got back in line roughly where he was, but he see through 3 and 4. Dropped about a truck length and a half, you know, after a lap or so after trying that move. So that's the big thing is, you know, there's no momentum down there, as Coop has said several times. And that's why you're never going to see people make moves down there. It's pretty much going to be a single file, and if you somehow have better tires than those out in front of you, it's going to be a bit of a struggle trying to make moves on them.
Christian Peterson is sliding through turn number 2 just now. He really went for a slide. He's been riding that just barely below the grid that everyone else has, and he slid it right out of turn number 2. And I think he's trying to act like this is the top side of a dirt track. But we got another yellow here. It's going to be coming out for the number 62, John Wilco, here on lap 61 or 21, I should say. Looks like he gets in the outside wall. He did the slide just like Christian Peterson did, but just was not able to save it. Hits the outside wall and then came down to the bottom of the track and slowly went. But the thing about this track is if you're stopped on the track in any place, the caution will come out whether you're on the top or the bottom. So he will bring out the caution here.
So getting a replay of that right here. We're going to have another look at it from this number 62 from a slightly different camera angle. Let's see what happened to him as he went in towards corners number 1 and 2 and ended up bringing out the yellow. So as they head down through 1 and 2, see that 62 car, John Wilco, running in the middle. And, well, there's that big slide that Coop was just talking about, finds the outside wall, and that's spinning down to the inside. And that's going to be a big incident as we get ready to head towards live pictures.
Yeah, coming down pit road comes Seth DeBerchant, and Bunny will see what these guys do. More than likely a 4-tire scheduled stuff for all these guys, or as another caution flies here, and pretty simple for these guys to come down and just get some, or a pretty easy decision, I should say, for all these guys to just come down, get rubber, and get back out there and ready to rumble again. So we'll see if anything interesting happens, whether anyone has a slow pit stop or anyone goes through their box. No one went through their box, but we'll have to see what these guys do when they get race off. Peterson off in a way already, and looks like the 25 is going to be next. Maybe not. Formosa was really close at the line, but it looks like it's going to be the 25. Then the number 80 of Scott Formosa. Looks like he got a few positions. Then Aaron Bennett, Gillenwater, and then looks like Gene Walker might have picked up position. So here at Kansas, we'll take a quick break, and we'll be back on the other side here on LSRTV with coverage of the BNC Lawn and Landscaping Truck Series.
Team racing allows multiple iRacing members to team up and race together, just like in real-world endurance series. Teammates can share driving duties, spot for one another, or be a crew chief. Team racing is free, both to join a team and to create one. Each teammate races on his or her own computer from wherever they want to. Your teammates can be anywhere in the world, and changing drivers mid-race is as easy as a click of a button. iRacing features team endurance events ranging from just a couple of hours to 24 hours in length. So, if you fancy taking part in an iRacing endurance race in the future, you can learn more about team racing on the teams page on the member website.
Welcome back to the Kansas Speedway as we are having full coverage of the BNC Lawn Landscaping Truck Series as it's the 6th race in the chase for the championship in this series. Seth the Merchant looks to have a second win in this round. Got Kyle Manger to his outside looking to steal one and be a little bit of a spoiler. Seth the Merchant on the loud pedal and green flag back in the air. 25 right to his outside, but Merchant's just a little faster here. These two get really spread out from the rest of the field. And looks like Scott Formosa is going to pull up right in front of Aaron Bennett here going down in turn number 1.
So they go through 1 and 2 here. Everyone pretty much on new tires once again. Saw the whole field come down pit road. As they come off that second corner down the back straight, you see the whole field going 2 by 2. I think everyone right now, Coop, even though they're going to get aggressive, maybe pick up a spot, especially on new tires. This might be your only opportunity to make a move down to the bottom for the entirety of the run. This is where I think at the same time, though, people just want to get in a groove and start running some green flag laps because there's been a whole lot of 4 laps caution, 6 laps caution, 1 lap caution thus far tonight.
Episode number 4 of Robert Gillenwater. He'll try and sneak back up to the top, and Scott Simley's going to let him have it, actually. He's going to let him come right back up, but Scott Simley loses the momentum. This is going to be a big jam, and it is. Looked at Seth the Merchant going right in the middle. The 2 of Michael Atkins Jr. wants to have none of it. Backs right out of it, and will sneak right back in front of John Jenkins. The Merchant, or not the Merchant, Peterson really wants these spots quick, and the best way he's going to do that is if he makes moves like that and goes 3 wide whenever he can. But the only bad thing about that is he only got 1 spot. He didn't get both of those, and he was really close to hitting the wall just now in turn number 1. But look at Aaron Bennett trying to do the slide job here in turn number 2. This is going to bring number 88 here on the inside. He might get 2 right here in the turn number 3. Gets the 80. He's going to try and get the 3 right here, and he's going to get it done.
Well done there. Excellent move. And now the 3 Machine's going to go back to the bottom and try his luck on the 88 at Jamie Walker. Gets a big run coming off the corner. Is going to tuck it down to that low groove right up against the grass. And that number 3 Machine of Aaron Bennett, he's found some speed and he's hooked up. He's going to run the bottom line, and he's going to need to slide it up here through the center of 1 and 2. But I think he waited a bit too long. The 88 at Jamie Walker. Look at the momentum. That's why the top side is so strong. And the 3 Machine goes from being just barely out ahead of the 88 to being behind the 80 and about to get freight trained by the 4 and the 6.
This is a lot like a dirt track when you think about it. If you don't execute that move properly, you're going to be one of 2 things: in the outside fence or getting passed by a lot of drivers. In some cases, both. so, so these guys are now freight training him on the outside of 6 of Tommy Ryan is making easy work of him if he can just manage to stay behind the 4, and then Peterson will also do the same. And Bennett, yeah, he held his cards close to him, and then he showed it, and it was two twos and versus a blackjack on everyone on the outside. So everyone's going to get around him and be a big winner, but he's going to really lose all these spots and might possibly even lose top 10 position if he's not careful at this rate. So it looks like the 68 of Scott Simligan, he's going to fall all the way to 9th. He started in 3rd position. He still has one more driver, Michael Atkinson, he's coming right behind him. So the biggest action we've seen from him has not been good. It's only been backwards. So him and Escabella's machine are going to have to figure out a way to get back up there.
Yeah, and good luck doing it at a place like Kansas, which is so single groove. These trucks out in front, Seth the Merchant and Kyle Major. 0.2 of a second separates them. I think a little bit of a hiccup there from Kyle. I'm scared that he was going to tag that wall, but overall did a good job to hold on to that one. Check 1 and 2 right now, and as you can see, after those first couple laps in the 3 machine trying to make moves down there, everyone is avoiding that bottom like the plague right now.
Yeah, it's kind of in a way, as a racer, it's upsetting as you can't feel like you can use the bottom. You feel like you're forced to use the top even if you don't like it. And so what'll happen here is these guys will use the top so much where it will probably rubber in after 100 or so laps, and then we'll get the bottom back and we'll get the middle, and then it'll be kind of an advantage maybe to even arc it from the top to the bottom as we see at most 1.5 ovals. But here's a move from Christian Peterson on the bottom of the 6 of Tommy Ryan. We'll see if he's able to get it done. He's not. He's got to back out just a little bit, and so he's going to now stay pointed behind. So right now Peterson is going to be in a position where he lost a lot of momentum, but he's going to try and get it all back here in just a little bit. But putting our eyes up forward to the 3rd and 2nd position, Jamie Walker has quickly caught Kyle Manger, and he's going to try and see what he can do with him.
Definitely got there, and actually I don't think it's even just that he's caught Kyle Major. I think Kyle Major has hit sort of a limit on that setup in some respects, probably running an ultra short run because he went from being about 1/10.5 to 2/10 off the back of Seth the Merchant to being 0.6 of a second back there. So the 25 of Kyle Major struggling on the speed, and Jamie Walker, that number 88, a truck that we've seen go from the front to the back and now back to the front in only 34 laps. It's been an eventful first 34 laps of racing for him. Lord knows what the next 100 have in store. They cross the stripe and bring us to 100 laps to go. But the 88 is going to take a peek on that 25 down on the bottom, and you're not going to do anything with it just yet. It's so difficult to make moves down there. The problem is if you're the 88 of Jamie Walker, the longer you wait to make the move on the 25, the further away the 57 gets.
Yeah, but I think at this point, if you put all your eggs in one basket and try and pass the 25, you're not going to have anything for Seth the Merchant here, as he's basically, like you said, he is going to probably skate away pretty quickly. And yeah, I think he's got to try and take something. He's got to take it to the outside off one of these corners, but then he's got to have so much momentum. And I think he's catching him in the middle of the corner. He's got him, but he just can't dive it down to the bottom, although he's going to try it perhaps now out of turn number 2. The big wiggle out of the or not a big wiggle, but a small wiggle out of the 25, but not enough for the 88 to take advantage of. So right now the 88 of Jamie Walker is kind of waiting for something to happen. He's going to try in a little bit lower of a groove, but the outside has so much more momentum, and it's not that hard on your tires in comparison. So these two not really spread out from the guy behind him, as Scott Formosa is starting to get in the picture here, as he's only 1.2 seconds from the leader, only 2/10 back from Jamie Walker.
He's closing in on these guys. The other thing, the way you kind of have to make passes here around Kansas here is actually behind. We're seeing a move. That's Tommy Ryan going to the inside of the 4 of Bob Gillenwater. So there's going to be an idea of what that sort of middle to lower grooves can have in store. Well, look at that. 6 machine. He goes down to the bottom. He immediately doesn't work. He gets up to an open line, and that's Christian Peterson, who he sort of cut off. And I think when the way the air hit that 23 truck, it did not like it at all. He got a big slide. Did very well to hold on to that thing, as still Jamie Walker is going to be hounding that 25. If he had the spotter should have told him, hey, look, there's cars behind you that are trying the middle and it's not working out for them. And because of that, the 88 is just thinking, oh no, how long do I have to wait before the 25 tires are bad enough that I can try the low groove and make it stick?
Yeah, then then you'll know that the crossover will probably happen, and you're gonna have that driver on the inside probably trying the same thing that you tried on him. So here comes the 6 to the outside of the 4 in the tri-oval, but here's the thing: the 4 will take the slower or the shorter route and take that advantage away from the 6, and that's similar to what we saw in real life here at Kansas whenever Joey Logano and Matt Kenseth got together. And wow, look at the big wiggle from the 23 of Christian Peterson. He got really loose off of turn number 2, and I don't know if these wiggles are good or bad for him, as he still has a bunch of speed, but he's really pushing that car, I think, a little bit more than he wants to. The guys in front of him are getting really out of shape. Number 6 of Tommy Ryan's not going to go to the bottom. 4 of Gillenwater looks like he's opening the door. I don't know if this is on purpose or not, but these guys are getting close, and Gillenwater almost hits the outside wall just like the 10 did earlier.
We're riding on board with Peterson right now, who's just behind and giving you a fantastic view of the fight. See, the 6 truck's going to get slow on the bottom, and Peterson actually, caution flew. Never mind, but my initial O was Peterson getting really loose, and we got the 62 of John Wilco, who's slow on the front straightaway, getting an idea of what happened to him here in just a moment.
Matt Mara came off of turn number 4 and lost control of the truck, and then when he hit the outside wall, he tried to gas back up, and oh man, this isn't going to be good to see.
So we got 62 machine. You see John Wilco here on your screen right now. He runs through the middle of the racetrack. This might have been a lap or so. Oh yeah, this started out in front of him. You're right. Oh no. Oh no. Oh dear.
Yeah.
You ever see an incident and then know you're not going to have anything nice to say about it?
Yeah, this one's definitely it. Definitely should have locked her down and waited for those tires to cool down, because the 22 tried to get going again, and the car was done wrecking and tried to get going too quick and just hit the outside wall and came back down. And
what was he trying to do?
Just like I said, he's just trying to get the truck back going again, and spun the tires. Well, definitely wasn't trying to do it on purpose. Definitely not something he intentionally did. But those trucks like to turn to the right when you wheel spin them, and there's both those drivers in the wrong place for that at the wrong time. And I think John Wilco is gonna have a night be done for him, because he hit the outside wall really hard with the front end nonetheless. And then of course Ralph van der Voors is gonna have a bad night go worse as well.
Well, that's unfortunate for sure for those drivers, because that was really no fault of their own, as pit stops are now going to be cycling through here and everyone's down back on towards pit road.
Some of these drivers are coming down and getting through their boxes not as cleanly as others. And it looks like the 91 had kind of slid through his box, but looks like these guys getting rights and left sides up, and we'll see which driver it's off first. Will be, oh, Seth the Merchant barely made it once again. Looks like it's going to be the number 80, Scott Formosa, who takes the position away from Kyle Manger here, as we'll go DeMerchant first, Kyle Manger second, and then Jamie Walker finds himself in third.
So overall, nice clean pit stops from everybody, and well, everything pretty much comes out in the same order. No real changes yet, as we're inside of 100 laps to go.
At this point in the race, we'll take another quick break here on LSRTV here at the Kansas Speedway. Welcome back to the Kansas Speedway as the BNC Lawn Landscaping Truck Series rallies to lap number 44 of 134 here for their sixth race of their chase to the championship for the BNC Lawn Landscaping Championship. So, Seth the Merchant has clearly made it known that he is on top of his game in tonight's race and will try and have another great start. Here comes a great restart. All three P-Money Design drivers on the bottom. Six-Man Inc. is rolling. And all three of them are now, wow, well ahead. That's incredible. All three drivers, great restarts. Scott Formosa went from second to fourth immediately, and they are gone.
I think that was a little bit choreographed, don't you?
Just a bit.
A little bit.
I think that one is going to be one that will have to be looked at because it was just a little too well done. I'll have to take a look at myself, but it was either that or Scott Formosa was sleeping at the wheel, but I'll have to say that was masterfully done, or just a little bit of sleeping on the outside. But that does happen occasionally here at the 1.5 mile tracks just because of how much the time it is. But man, that's a huge deal right there for all three of those drivers to get the space they needed. Because now they can kind of just determine the race at this point. With all three of them being up here, DeMerchant, Major, and Peterson, they're in a good place in the points already as it is. They just need to be where they're at and finish the race. Of course, if you talk to them right now, they want to win the race themselves. All three of them. They're not going to let each other win the race, so don't think about that. But they're definitely not going to be making it easy for anyone else to kind of crack this top three right now.
Yeah, and especially, with a track like this, the fact that it's, Kansas, as quick as it is, it's not a very racy track, and we've seen that even on new tires. It's a struggle trying to get down to that low groove and make passes on people. So when you're talking about potentially trying to get around three teammates, if they stack up, if the teammates stack up on top of one another, generally the way you sort of make passes here is sort of the same way you kind of said it earlier. It's like on a dirt track. You sort of got to get a big run down the back straightaway or down the straightaway, throw it up the inside into one or three, and then you have to sort of slide up the racetrack in front of that driver up on that upper groove. And if those teammates out in front just sort of stack each other up, so put one driver right in the middle of them, you don't have a gap to potentially slide job into.
Yeah, and really exciting behind all four of these drivers up here. You can throw Formosa in this bunch. Looks like the number 88 of Jamie Walker turning on the bottom, but the 6 of Tommy Ryan actually made a move on the 4 of Gilmwater. He went down to the middle, kind of slid it up to almost doored him actually, but then reeled it down. And I think that's going to be the role that you're going to have to play is to invert what you would normally do at a 1.5 mile. Go from the top to bottom. He went from the bottom to the top, and then came back down a little bit and had some momentum there. So that can be something that he tries later on in these runs. But DeMerchant's getting himself a pretty good distance between himself and everyone behind him, Manger and Peterson. Oh wow, look at how far he went up the track. I think that was a little bit of help for Peterson, a little bit of a team order maybe, or just realizing that he's much quicker right now. So swap of positions for second and third easily on the front straightaway. Now the 23, we'll see what he has for the 57.
And that's usually good to see with this sort of racing, the fact that you can just sort of get yourself to have a teammate that's so willing to do that. It's never really necessarily team orders, especially this early in the race, but whenever you're quicker, maybe you've made a whatever the case might be, maybe you just feel more confident on the new tires, maybe you just are flat out quicker than the guy in front of you. To have a teammate that's willing to sort of just kind of fall over and die just a little bit. It's never great to see team orders, but with 80 some odd laps to go, there's no point in trying to fight over it. 70 laps from now, 10 laps to go, I have a feeling they wouldn't be quite so nice with one another.
Definitely true, but I think this battle between them will be decided probably within the next 50 laps if we don't get a caution, because of how this track will kind of develop over time, with the fact that these long runs are so important. Or the tires are so important on the long run that the way you take care of them now is definitely going to determine how they run later on. And with Peterson, it looks like he's always been a little bit more aggressive than DeMerchant here in cutting through the field, but DeMerchant hasn't had to do that. He hasn't had to do any of that. He's been there basically the whole time. Oh, and Peterson's out here in the outside wall right now, going all a total of 139 miles an hour. He's going to let both these guys go by him. Oh, also, damage on the car is not going to help either. So tires and damaging the truck. Now he's almost going to get he's going to get passed by the 6 of Tommy Ryan too. So a very small mistake by the 23. It's up in the outside wall, barely taps it. Now he's going to go 3 wide with the 3, the 6. He's going to be in the middle, and wow, that's a big changer right there, because now he's going to have to try and fight all that back.
Getting a replay of this incident here from that driver in the 23, as let's see what happens as he heads in towards 3 and 4 right now on the replay. You see him just push through the corner, and well, that's the mistake that can easily be made. Be trying to push it really, really hard, reel in the truck in front of you. It can be so easy to make that mistake. It doesn't take much of an error at all. And now that number 23 car is going to likely have some damage. He's going to be in some traffic, which is an absolutely nightmare scenario to have here in a situation like this, Coop.
Yeah, and look at the number 25 of Kyle Manger trying to break the draft from the number 80 of Scott Formosa. This is for second place here. And then you've got Tommy Ryan and Peterson. Tommy's actually made some big gains since the last restart. He's made a few positions, and also looks like he's a little bit of rear end damage, but he started 11th all the way up to 4th. And I'd say it really doesn't matter where you started, because the way the cautions go and the way the pit strategies just kind of come about. It's one of those things where we've had a lot of moving around, and it's just a big difference here. When we've had the 4 cautions earlier on today. So I feel like Scott Formosa is probably a lot faster than 25, but once again we see this train happen on the outside, and I don't think we've seen it quite like this, at least at this point in the race, but Tommy's trying to go to the outside here, not quite working, but Scott Formosa still holding steady, and I think right there Kyle got a really good advantage there out of 4.
Look down to the bottom because Aaron Bennett is the second time we've seen this in the 3. That Cabela's machine's going to try his luck. This time there's no one quite as close. He's already at the tail end of this little line, so he doesn't need to be too safe with it. And, well, just like what happened the last time, he throws it down to the bottom, pulls alongside early, then he immediately drops back 2 or 3 truck lengths. And you see the 23 in the wall again.
And he not only did he scrape it that time, he also hit it with the right front, and he's got to be frustrated with this. But now he's got some left front damage, and he almost turned the number 2 of Michael Atkins Jr. right there, actually. So he's got to be careful here, as the 23 is having a very uncharacteristic race right now, at least for this run in particular. He's done a really good job of getting through the field, but I think his long run speed's just not there. And I think something to note is he did not practice earlier tonight in the server with these drivers. So definitely trying to be as aggressive as possible, but it's not paying off right now, as Peter has hit the wall not only once but twice, and also kind of got collected with the wall a couple times. So here comes the number 68 of Scott Simley. He's on the inside of the number 23 right now. We'll see what he does with him, and looks like somebody's going to try the bottom, but I don't think the bottom's really going to come into play, but these guys are definitely trying it, and actually Peterson's going to let him have it. So I think Peterson got off the gas just a tiny bit, and Peterson's going to try and figure something out here.
It's definitely a good move, considering the sort of incidents we've seen Peterson get into. You need to just sort of know the discretion is the better part of valor. Looking up by the front, though, second and third place still very close. That's Formosa and Kyle Manger. They're still pretty much battling for the second spot, but really that 80 of Formosa, he just tucked in behind that number 25 and just sort of stayed there. He's been there for the last half dozen, 10 laps or so, and hasn't even really thought about making a move, hasn't looked to the bottom whatsoever. And as we approach halfway, that number 80 machine, I think, is just going to be nice and patient behind that 25 for a while.
Yeah, as long as he doesn't get too much pressure from Tommy Ryan, I think that's a valid assessment, because maybe not. Yeah, maybe not as valid as I was thinking as well. I was right there with you, though. I thought the same, but Scott Formosa maybe just testing the water, seeing what the bottom do. But Seth the Merchant is absolutely checked out, clocked out. He's done with work. He's no longer getting paid overtime for the amount of work he's done right now, because he is gone 2.5 seconds in front of all these guys. And I think in a little bit he'll actually catch some wet traffic, but these guys are still just super close, within a few tenths of each other. And you got to wonder how this tire fall off is going to affect these guys, and who saved their tires the most. I think Tommy Ryan's got a big run on the 80. Whether he does anything with them or not, it's going to be the big chance. But wow, he's a little close right there, because he also went from the below him to above him, and if he was actually on his bumper, he would have straight up turned him. But good fortune for those two that did not happen.
The number 3 of Aaron Bennett's going to try his luck on the bottom again. Actually, he doesn't lose them as much time this time through the corner, but you can still see the gaps of that number 6 car of Tommy Ryan out in front of him. Still going to lose a lot of speed, but they're going to run the top through 3 and 4, of course, as is literally everyone else on the track right now. But still, good to see that number 3 truck, at least he's trying to make moves there. But other thing to keep in mind, the likes of Michael Atkins Jr. and Bob Gillenwater out behind Jamie Walker. They're starting to reel in this gap to this sort of quartet of trucks that are running second to fifth. That gap is coming down.
And so these guys single file at the time being behind the 80, but like I said, it's kind of one of those burning storms that you're just waiting for something to happen. What's going to happen? What's going to change all of this here? Kind of unsure, but I think pit stops is it's something that we can think about, that these guys are maybe going to try and make it halfway between the last green flag and the end of the race, but I just can't imagine that's going to happen. These guys typically get about 30 laps of fuel, but yeah, look at that 3. He's trying to the bottom. I just don't think it's going to work quite yet here.
Yeah, he sort of looks down there, and the thing that's at least refreshing is that he sort of gets there, and then he loses speed. So there is like that little bit of hope of, if these guys' tires drop off, I can maybe make it happen. I think the problem I have is that generally when you're running that upper groove here at Kansas, the upper groove is easier on the tires. So I have to think for the 3 of Aaron Bennett, every time he gets down there, he's using the tires more and more, which means that he's likely going to be giving up a little bit than those guys out in front of them. So I don't know. I don't like it from Aaron Bennett. I mean, I like to see someone at least try their luck and see if they can make something happen. But I think overall, in terms of race strategy and just knowing how Kansas is, I don't think it's great in terms of your strategy. It's not good in terms of the lifeblood of the tires as we're reaching towards about halfway in this run. But that said, he's tucked right underneath Tommy Ryan, and that's 6.
Definitely trying, and I think he's one of those drivers that tries the strategy that no one else wants to. You know, he always goes the long distance on the fuel. He always kind of does something that it's got a little bit different, and it sometimes works out for him. And so, kind of expect him to do something different for the rest of this run, just to see what's available to him. And so he's going to try and cut the course right there just a little bit. And it's not like really cutting the course, but it's cutting the corner really. He won't be able to do that this time because there's a lap car, at least I think. But he seems to be getting plenty of speed off of going to the top and then cutting it down to the bottom. There's a car on the bottom that actually almost had an issue there. It's the number 10 of Jeff Wright. He almost looped it after number 4 actually, but thankfully he didn't. And these 4 continue to just continue to be straight. Oh, Aaron Bennett almost got into number 6 right there of Bob Gillenwater, but we're actually gonna have a caution flag here roll out.
Chris
here.
Peterson
And the 14 come together. It looks like Peterson came up into the 14 actually. Oh, actually no, other way around.
The replay's up on your screen. See him heading towards 3 and 4. Happen on the other side of the racetrack from here, though. Let's see what happened. Who got into who? Oh no, yep, just like that, the 14 machine, really no other way to say it, dude. He just sort of swung down on the inside and, well, kind of got into the 23 of Peterson there. I don't think there's much Christian could really do about that, but think about how the 23 machine actually ended up there. It was just a couple small mistakes that put him in the back part of the grid.
Yeah, when you, I'd have to look at the last few laps by the 14 to see if that was anything different than what he would normally do. He usually, looking at the last few laps, and he looks like he was always turning in at the white line, to the white line, but he turned much earlier than that. Really unsure of why. I mean, there was, I don't know, unless he did something to him and he didn't like it, gave him a couple bumps. I'm not sure. That didn't look like it was intentional, but I don't know. It just looks like he just turned way too early.
Yeah, definitely did. Definitely not an ideal situation, as once again, yellow flag pit stops here, and, well, sort of an awkward timing because this is exactly at halfway of the race, so sort of turned into just a 67-lap race. Actually, we saw the 6th machine of Bob Gillenwater miss his box.
And still he'll have to readjust and figure out exactly what he's going to be able to have to do to get all that time back here on the speedway. But pit stop for now, of course, and we'll see which driver comes off first. Typically, probably going to be Seth the Merchant every single time, at least for the time being.
Yawn.
Yeah, he's gone, just like he was on the track earlier. So it'll be Major actually coming off in 3rd, with Formosa getting around him via pit stop. So Demerchant, Major, Formosa is going to be your top 3 coming off of the pit road. So we'll take another moment during this caution and take a break. You've been watching the BNC Lawn Landscaping Truck Series here at Kansas Speedway. Welcome back to the Kansas Speedway as Seth the Merchant continues to lead. He's got a new challenger behind him, Scott Formosa. I don't think we're going to have nearly as spirited of a charge on the inside lane as we did last time, but we do have 2 teammates instead of 3, as one was just involved in an accident from 6-Man Inc. So Scott Formosa is going to have to try and see what he can do here. He was in the same position last time, but just got completely freight train on that last restart. So on lap number 70, looks like teammates are gone and away again. It's the same thing. These guys are going to be gone. Here we go, green flag in the air. That's going to be Seth the Merchant and Kyle Manger here.
The thing that's interesting about those restarts is almost like the second or third truck in line is actually the one who calls it, because they sort of get on it and start pushing that driver in front of them that's been Seth the Merchant. So this been, you know, in this case, Kyle sort of got on it, got into the back of Seth and started pushing him, and that's when Seth sort of got on it. So there's that little sort of checkup. It's not a big sort of variation in terms of when they get on it, but it's just sort of that boom, and that allows them to boast and then really make sure that that driver to the inside the second row can get clear.
And with these 2 guys being so strong on these restarts, it's going to be hard to do anything about it, as we have cleared the halfway point in this race. And I mentioned that tonight's midway race break is provided by iRacing, the leading online racing simulation. iRacing has been developed from the beginning as a centralized racing and competition service. iRacing organizes, hosts, and officiates races on virtual tracks all around the world. In the fast-paced world of esports, iRacing is a one-stop shop for all your online racing needs. So there's a big pack right here, right in the leader's nest right here, and you're going to see Bob Gilwater go to the top and try and maybe get some speed. The 88 almost wrecks him right there. Had to really get off the gas, and now he's going to have to really slide back in, and got really close to him. The same with Aaron Bennett here in turn number 3. Action aplenty here as Bennett's going to really try and hoe down the bottom. He's going to hunker down and can be committed to this bottom line. I think it's really good for him. It's at least exciting for us, but I don't know if it's going to be plentiful here in the next couple laps as we start to go through where your favorite drivers are at the moment. As Seth the Merchant, he is in the lead right now with Kyle Manger in second. Scott Formosa finds himself in third after that restart. And Aaron Bennett fourth. Bob Gillenwater finds himself fifth with Jamie Walker in sixth. Michael Atkins Jr. seventh. Christian Peterson's going to be limping around at least a little bit, but he's still in eighth place, 1.7 seconds back with Bobby Terrell ninth. Scott Simley, that rounds out your top 10. Tommy Ryan 11th. Michael Preacher 12th. Jeff Ryan 13th. And you've got John Jenkins, Ralph Vander Vorsta, Matt Maher, John Wilco, and Matt Herring all having issues, at least at some point in this race. So back up towards the front, Seth the Merchant continues to lead. And Scott Formosa is trying to hunt down the 80. He's been faster than him after the first couple laps, and he's been faster than him in the long runs. Just hasn't had anything that he could do with them.
Yeah, that's the big point, I think, is right now you have Jamie Walker looking down the inside of Bob Gillenwater in the 4, but as we've seen all night, that bottom groove has not come in the way you would have hoped to be able to make passes. We've seen that both from the 3 of Aaron Bennett, because let's be real, I don't think there's a more iconic duo anymore than Aaron Bennett in the bottom of this Kansas Speedway. But just talking about that number, you know, the fact that that bottom groove hasn't come in. There's been so many cautions tonight, Coop, that I don't think there's been any opportunity for that upper groove to really get rubbered in. You can definitely see it getting a little bit darker, and it's likely heating up just that a little bit, but it's not quite enough for that bottom groove to even really become viable. We see the 80 in the 4. This could be the 88 in the 4. They're going to fan back out side by side down this front straightaway. The 88 is going to have the bottom, but will he have enough of a run to get clear? This is sort of where you need to be in order to make a move. He needs to throw it aggressively to the bottom, and you know what? I think Jamie Walker not nearly aggressive enough, because that's not how you make passes here, Coop. You have to get it, you really have to just angle the truck way down to the bottom to make that run as short as you can to have any hope of sliding up in front of someone. I think the 88 machine had a good opportunity there, and he just threw it away. The 4 Bob Gillenwater was sort of gifted that position.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you're not maybe aggressive enough, but at the same time, it's hard to be super aggressive and not know it's going to pay off 100%. I think that's one of the biggest issues with how this track performs, at least at the middle of a run. We haven't seen a really long late run here tonight, but we have the ability to do it. I think we'll have at least one pit stop between now and the end of the race, and they'll probably split in half here between the end of the race. But Jamie Walker's absolutely on the back bumper of the 4. He gives him a tap right at turn number 4. And my goodness, he actually just gave him a humongous push through the front stretch.
Yeah, that Ford Bob Gilliland is going to say thank you very much. And now you have to think, what kind of damage might that 88 truck have to that nose of that machine? Yeah, he just hit the number 4 car. You might say, well, what kind of damage does the 4 have? Let's be real. The damage to the rear tailgate is relatively irrelevant, Coop. Especially if that, as long as that spoiler is straight and isn't too crooked, it's not too much of an issue. Aaron Bennett's going to try his luck on the bottom again, but it's not going to work out. But for that 4 truck, we're going to get very close again off that 4th corner. But it's the damage to the nose that's much more important than the damage to the rear bumper is on that number 4 truck.
Yeah, very close quarters, but these drivers are also catching the leader, Seth the Merchant. They're also catching him quite a bit, actually. Seth a lap was actually a 10th slower than Kyle Manger and everyone behind him. So the slowest car in this 4-car pack at the front actually is the slowest, which is never a good thing if you want to stay green the whole way. So these guys right now, we'll see if Seth is able to pick the pace back up, but now you also got to think about how hard the draft is pulling these guys in, as well as Seth the Merchant is kind of stabilizing, but still another good lap by Kyle Manger, about half a tenth faster than the Merchant.
Yeah, that's really the big thing, is these guys are getting themselves relatively close together, and that race lead, we haven't seen Seth the Merchant open up that big gap like you were just saying, Coop. And why do you think this might be? Why was Kyle Manger, you know, we saw at the beginning of that last run, he let his teammate through of Peterson, and then Peterson eventually got into a secondary incident, but that 25 truck was really patient. Now he's getting really racy with that 57, trying to maintain that gap, and it stayed at 2/10 the last few laps.
And these guys right behind him, like you said, patience is patience the virtue. But oh wow, all 3 of those drivers had a little bit of wiggle off of turn number 2, and wow, this is it. Like I said, if you make a mistake, you expect that driver behind you to take advantage of it. But if all 3 of you guys do it, I guess no one gets the advantage at all, and kind of have to wonder if, man, if I don't make mistakes, the guy in front of me does, I can try and take advantage of it here, but they've got to make the mistake, got to hope for one, I think, at this point, as we hit lap 83. These laps are starting to wind down actually pretty quickly after we've hit the halfway point, as getting closer and closer to lap 100, which I think is going to be that point where these guys decide whether they're going to pit or not.
That's going to be the big question for these guys. We haven't really seen a big strategy call be required tonight. Really, the green flag runs, I think the longest we've had has been about 25 laps. So as they work themselves through, the number 3 machine, actually, Aaron Bennett, he's making something happen on the bottom. He went underneath that 80 of Scott Formosa, and he kept it down there very well off turn 4, but unfortunately not quite able to maintain that momentum. That 3 car getting a little bit more confident every time he tries the bottom. And I think right there, the fact that the 3 machine was able to hold that side-by-side situation for so long down the front straightaway, that tells me that that upper groove might be slowing down just a little bit.
Not only slowing down, but getting a little looser, as well as I think it's really tight on the bottom, as I think that would be a little obvious as you come right back up to the top, but it could still be loose for him too. Yeah, side by side right here with the 80. It's just a little bit better every single time. And he's still not able to go to the back up to the top either. Look at the 80. He's going to give it up. The 80 gives up the spot to the 3 of Aaron Bennett. That's pretty surprising. That means that Aaron Bennett's got some speed that none of these guys have on the bottom, and I think he's just going to have to say, you know what, just take it. Not worth getting a racetrack over if you make a small mistake, which would happen later on in the race probably. So look at the speed Bennett has. He's obviously got some speed that none of these guys in front of him have. He's going to try and see if he can catch the number 80 of Scott Formosa. He comes off turn number 4 and sees what he can do here.
Yeah, if that number 3 truck of Aaron Bennett, that's about 4,876 attempts down to the bottom, one of which was successful, and that's the one that counts. And really, if you're everybody else, you should see that. And now I would suspect that we're going to start seeing from that secondary group that saw that move happen. I wouldn't be surprised the 88 machine of Jeremy Walker maybe throw the move on Bob Gillenwater down on the inside here in the next handful of laps. That said, if you're Aaron, it's only just worked for Aaron Bennett, so you might wait another 10, 15, 20 laps and wait for that upper groove to really get slickened off before you start trying to make the bottom work.
He's there, though. Aaron Bennett's right there, and oh my gosh, there's no space between these guys. He's really making the bottom work, I think, and he's got to really back off just a little bit, though, and he backed off a lot. This is going to be a good shot for the 80, but I think he's going to just stay behind him. That's the one bad thing, is Aaron did not have the momentum that he had on the 80 that time, and he also, I think, pushed it in the corner a little bit too much. I think he overdrove the entrance, and then when it came to the exit, he's going to hit the wall. And I don't think he's just going to hit the 25 at that race, so gets out of it nice, cleanly, easily, and here on lap number 88, Aaron's got to figure out one of two things: whether he's going to try and save his tires loose a little bit, try and catch him, or he's going to go all out and maybe pit a little early here.
Yeah, that could definitely be a situation that comes out as we're inside of 50 laps to go, quickly approaching 40 laps to go. And well, talking about that, it might be one of those situations where the bottom works in 3 and 4, but you can't make it stick in 1 and 2. Because you talk about the fact that that middle groove is going to be tight compared to the upper groove that's relatively loose. Because you come off of 4, you're sort of held by the geometry of the track because it's a tri-oval. You don't have to rotate the truck so much on exit. And because of that, you can often make that lower groove work and just be able to maintain the momentum because you don't have to rotate the truck a full 180 degrees around quite the way that you have to coming off of 2. And I mean, look at the speed that Bennett has. He's already reeled in that 25. He's there.
Yeah, he's catching him very quickly here, and despite having to have the little hiccup that he did, I think he's got some real speed underneath that truck, and he's got to wait for I think a big issue with the 25. But you also got to think that if Seth Merchant has any faith in his teammate, he won't let him by as easily as the 80 did there. But yeah, right there, right in the middle of the corner, and Aaron is absolutely right there. Aaron's gonna take nothing. I don't think he's gonna take anything. Take everything from the
Gillenwater behind.
Yeah, number 4. Yeah, talking about it right there, and he's going to go right back up to the number 2 as the number 3 of Bennett goes down to the bottom of the 25 once again.
He's going to look to the bottom of the 25 machine of Kyle Menger, but he's not quite going to be able to get that job done, but he's still hanging close. He's not losing a lot of speed the way we saw earlier on in the run. So that number 3 machine, I don't know if he's found something out or if that upper groove has just slowly gone away here, but Bennett's definitely quick. And now look at this. He's going to cut down to the bottom late in the corner in 1 and 2. This should allow him to maintain some good momentum. Gets a little bit of a wiggle, and that's going to give it up. But I think that number 25 needs to get worried because normally you're relatively safe running here at Kansas if you can stay on the top. And now the 3 machine throws it back down to the inside much more aggressively. He's almost clear. Going to run right up next to the door. They're wheel to wheel as they come down the front straightaway, but still not quite close enough. And that may have actually been one too many. And Scott Formosa is looking to the top on the 3 of Aaron Bennett.
I think for ups up here, they really want it to happen. You really want that top side to maybe falter a little bit and have that bottom side be quick. But Aaron Bennett comes really loose off the corner, and it's just not working out. I think his right rear, or not right rear, his right front's giving out, and that's why he's the right side of that truck is starting to step out. Is just because that he's got no right front grip, and then the rear of the truck wants to give out. But here he's coming down pit road, realizes maybe his hand is made for him. This is really early, I'd have to say, because you got to go. Oh, man, you got to go 40 laps on this next tank of fuel. He's not the only one to come down pit road, but is definitely the most noteworthy right now.
Yeah, he's definitely the one we need to watch. Let's keep an eye on some of our race leaders, see if anyone else responds to this, because, even though it's early, and even if you're planning on coming down a little bit later, if you're planning to pit within the next 4 to 5 laps, you need to come down right now. Otherwise, Aaron Bennett's just going to have the undercut advantage on you. I think if you don't come down in the next lap or 2, I would suspect that number 3 machine of Aaron Bennett, if we stay green, will likely, after everyone cycles around, come out with that race lead because they'll be out there for so long on new tires, Coop. And if you don't come down within the next couple laps, you basically have to stay out until that fuel tank is absolutely dry.
Yeah, I think at this point you split the run in half, which would be
Gillenwater and Peterson in the 23. We need to get a replay of that. The 4 and the 23 through 1 and 2. We're tapping and I'll just say this, they made some hard contact.
Wow, I think you better look at it again, because I think he touched him once, but then completely stayed off of him the rest of the time, which is incredible. They may not even touched. But that was so close.
So we're having a peek at it. You also had a truck who got to pit road. Didn't see who that was. There's a green Mountain Dew looking car, though. I'll say that, but it wasn't the 88. You see them then towards 1 and 2 here, and let's see what happened. See the 23 machine cuts down to the bottom, and that 4 truck is right there. There's a little bit of an initial tap, and then they both get real sideways. 23 truck does a good job of holding on to that. Because of that, we stay green.
I think that's probably the best piece of driving I've seen both of them do. In a situation like that. Peterson's actually going to try and go to the outside of Gillenwater. Gillenwater doesn't want to give this one up, and I can tell you that there's been a lot of races that Peterson's won, but Gillenwater's not going to give it up to just anybody, even if it is Peterson right here. I think Peterson's going to try and work the bottom a little bit here, but it's just not going to work out for Peterson. Oh, wow, that's a lot of damage right there. Right rear damage for 23 as Peterson. He might as well come down pit road, I think, at this point.
Yeah, I think you're right. That's a pretty hard hit to the right side of that truck. And you can see that that fender well on the right side is pretty much bent up, and he's actually not going to do it, so he's still confident. But look at that, another big wiggle off the corner number 4. So the 23 machine, not only is that upper groove getting really loose here, Coop, but I think that 23 machine has just burnt off those right side tires, particularly the right rear, and that truck is on the edge of undrivable right now. Can he hold on to it off of 2? He's going to come off the corner, and he's going to be able to hold on to it right here.
Here comes Jamie Walker with brand new tires, and he's going to go right by the 23.
But what's
here,
the 88 I saw pit?
I think the 2 did come down as well, so I think both Mountain Dew trucks came down. So one thing he's got to worry about is these guys coming down, trying to get down under to pit road, because they got to come from the top to the bottom. These guys are passing on the bottom, so you got to be very careful when they come down to pit road. As a now lap down driver and a driver coming down pit road, it's much more difficult to control the truck. So as Jamie Walker, I think, is one to really watch. As not exactly sure what happened to Aaron Bennett. I think maybe Jamie pit first. Aaron Bennett's here in turn 3 and 4 right now. I think these guys can make it the rest of the way, but I'm not 100% sure. It's going to be really close, I think, on the fuel tank, as these guys are starting to get up to speed and start making their way back to Seth Merchant getting the lap back.
That's what I'm talking about, by the way, because it's confirmed also that the 88 machine actually did pit earlier. He came down pit road lap number, what would that have been, 89, and if we look at the 3 of Aaron Bennett, he hit pit road on lap number 92. So that's what I'm talking about in terms of the delta. It's only a 3-lap difference from when they hit pit road, and Jamie Walker was, I would say, a good 3 seconds or so behind that number 3 machine on the racetrack, maybe a little bit less. But you look at the gap right now, Jamie Walker's crossing the line, and the 3 of Aaron Walker is only crossing the line right now. So it's about a 2 to 3 second gap, which means that Jamie Walker in the 88, he made up 4 to 5 seconds out there on the new tires, and you know that benefit's going to go to him and Aaron Bennett when your race leaders eventually opt to hit pit lane.
And what's happened here is we're about to hit the lap 100 marker. That's what we have. We'll hit 34 laps to go, and I think this is when you're going to see drivers come down pit road, because this is going to be pretty close to splitting, as Jamie Walker just got his lap back just now. It doesn't look like anyone's coming down quite yet, but I have to say it's going to be happening sometime soon. But if these guys don't come down pit road, do they make it on fuel? I think it's highly unlikely with a limited fuel cell. But now the later they stay out, I think now the advantage starts going with those guys who pitted earlier. Now that's whenever they can really start to shine and show the dominance of their tires, and I think it's just going to be one of those things where these guys need to come down pit road sooner than later.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. But at the same time, it's also the sort of situation where, talking this close to the end of the race, we got one driver off towards pit road. That's Scott Formosa. The 4, Bob Gillenwater, is going to hit pit road. Christian Peterson's going to hit pit road as well. So those guys are all going to go for it. The thing that's going to be interesting is that when your race leader of Seth the Merchant hits pit road, he will likely get jumped by those drivers. And I will say at the same time, it shows good. It shows a lot of experience, and it shows good discipline that those guys didn't immediately come down pit road or didn't just pit 3 or 4 laps later, because that's a mistake a lot of people make. Because your 57 machine is Seth the Merchant, he's going to hit the lane right now as well. Immediately respond, big wiggle as he comes off of turn 4. That may cost him a lot of time as he tried to get down towards pit road, but it's a mistake I see a lot of people make, Coop. They see people around them trying to work the undercut, and then they just come down 3 laps later, and all you end up doing when you do that is you just give up like 6 seconds on the racetrack, only to be maybe a half a tenth quicker every single lap for the rest of the run. You can't reel in that 6-second advantage or so. If someone's going to undercut you, you either have to come down the exact next lap, or you need to stay out for about 15 laps, if not more, to work the overcut. And when those people's tires start to go away, you can be on the new rubber as the Merchant's in his box.
Yeah, you really have to stick to your plan at that point. You can't change it based on someone else, and I think it's a really valid point to make, is that that does happen a lot. So Seth the Merchant coming out of his box now. He's gonna make it back on the track. He was speeding a little bit, so we'll have to see if that comes out to anything. He was 47 miles an hour, 2 miles an hour over the speed limit as he hit the line. That could be bad for him if it decided it wanted to give him a penalty. And Scott Simley, he's also in his box. He just led a lap, actually stayed out the longest out of anybody, and now he's going to try and take advantage of what he has right now. So Jamie Walker will be cycled out to the leader as the leader. Aaron Bennett right there behind him, and the next driver is going to be Michael Atkins Jr. He's just now going to be getting out of turn 2 as these guys are entering turn 3. That's the difference between your leaders.
And not only that, but think about who was your leader, the 57 machine of Seth the Merchant. He's entering the back straightaway right now. Your current race leader, Jamie Walker, he's heading towards the start-finish. So for the 57 machine of Seth the Merchant, that's the delta he needs to reel in half a lap, more or less, to have any hope of winning this race. And oh, by the way, looking at the fight between those top two of Walker and Bennett, Bennett's lapping about 2 to 2.5 tenths quicker than that 88 machine, and he's tucked right underneath that rear spoiler already. Aaron Bennett, he's tried a million times tonight and only made it work once. We might be in for an inside pass here in about a lap or two when he gets there.
And Aaron needs to execute it quickly or talk to his teammates, say, you know, you're only going to hold me up from winning this race, because if they start to fight, it's only going to mean that the Merchant gets to eat up his 13-second gap, which he really doesn't want to have happen. And if anything, these two could possibly work together. But yeah, Aaron Bennett much faster through turns 1 and 2, and see what he's able to do as he gets off of turn number 2 right behind Aaron Bennett. And we'll see if he does anything here. He goes to shade to the bottom, and he's gonna make it happen. He's gonna be able to get this position easily. And so Aaron Bennett slides up in turn number 4, and new race leader Aaron Bennett, he's gonna start clocking some laps in, or logging some laps in, and seeing if he can get this done with under 30 laps to go.
So that should be the 4th or 5th leader we've seen tonight as we're inside of 30 laps remaining. And now I just want to take a look at the lap times. Right now for Aaron Bennett, let's take a quick look, bring up the graphic. You can see last lap was a 33 flat. That was sort of in traffic. And if I just take a look at my super OP lap guide that the sim kindly gives us, most of his laps have been in that mid-32 range. He sort of slowed down when he got back behind that number 88 machine, but I think he's likely going to pick it up. I want to see what the lap time here is before we start talking about everyone else out there on the racetrack. He's going to cycle through start-finish right now, and he goes to a 33.15, so actually not as good as I would have hoped for that number 3 machine of Aaron Bennett. If we take a look at the 57 machine, 32.9 for him last time through. That's basically equivalent with the pace that he's had thus far, maybe dealing with a little bit of slower traffic, because he's basically going to have the newest tires of anybody as he tries to work his way forward. And oh, by the way, the 6 machine of Tommy Ryan, he's also out in front of that number 57 of Seth the Merchant as well. So the 6 machine worked the strategy quite well for himself also.
And here we got a battle for the 5th position. It's going to be Kyle Manger going down to the bottom with the number 80 machine, and that's really interesting because the 57 is definitely not as fast as these guys, but also got to wonder, can these guys make it on the fuel strategy? I think that's really important to note, as well as Kyle Manger on the bottom. He definitely made, he's definitely going to probably execute the pass here in front of the 80. Oh, wow. So close. And turn number 1 absolutely cuts the 80 off. Barely had a fender in front of him, and holy cow, that was really close, and basically disrupted the airflow of the 80, and he's going to fall back a little bit as Robert Gilmore is going to now try and press this one. And wow, that was
Jamie Walker's back on pit road.
Oh no, that's not good. It looks like got to take a few looks and see what happened, but maybe he can't make it on fuel as he pitted and out a lap early. He's done that before, but I can't imagine why he'd be coming down pit road now. This is really an opportune time.
Yeah, I'm going to get a replay of this winding up on your screen. I just want to see if he had any sort of hard contact into the wall, because
I just checked. He didn't. I mean, there's no contact between anything. I think it's just maybe pit too early.
That's a rookie mistake to make there. There's no other way to say it. You're trying to work the tires, and let's be real, he didn't go anywhere near a full run. I think, honestly, if you're Jamie Walker there, you're better off just staying out on the racetrack. And even if you end up just sitting there and having to pit on lap 130, lap 131, I'd rather go for 20 laps and pray for a caution than come down early like this and basically sort of isolate myself down to be guaranteed to finish a lap down.
That might be exactly what he's thinking. I think Aaron Bennett's trying to do
no. What I mean is, instead of pitting there, he should have stayed until about 3 or 4 laps to go when he absolutely was about to run out of fuel.
Right, and then just took gas only. I think that's definitely.
Because then if you get a yellow, it saves you.
True. Yeah, you know, when you put it like that, that makes it a lot easier to handle at that point. But one driver who's maybe doing that, maybe trying to make it work, is Aaron Bennett. I think one thing to note is he's getting very loose off of corner number 4, but also losing a bunch of time throughout the last few laps. He's now running 33 4s, whereas Seth the Merchant's running 32 8s. So that's about 4/10 a lap, with 12 seconds in between those two, and it's going to be a little bit less than that now, I'm sure. That's 11.5, so about half a second per lap. You start to do the math and such. It's about
it's tight.
20 laps, and we're about 21 laps out. So, and also he's got to worry about Kyle Manger behind him. If they do battle at any point, it's over. Yeah, at least for one of them. I don't know if it'll be over for both of them, but yeah, the Merchant has to have his best laps here between now and the end, and also he's got to pass him too, and you can't just catch him. But here comes the 25 on the bottom. Here comes Kyle Manger. He might make it interesting. If he holds him up in any sort of way, this could be Aaron Bennett's race to win.
Definitely could. You're going to see that 25 duck down to the bottom. The 57 Seth the Merchant is going to make that real easy. The 25 slides it up there. There's a bit of dirt tracking as the 57 and the Merchant cuts it back down to the bottom. He's going to take that spot away, and the 80 of Scott Formosa, he's going to slide into that gap that the 25 machine just gave himself. So a bit of hard fighting here, I believe, between the two teammates, and there's no love lost between them. As see that 25 truck get a big wiggle off 4, and now Seth the Merchant should be able to run away here as Scott Manger is going to be in that 3rd spot and now comfortably running behind Seth the Merchant. Actually, dude, we saw the tree truck come down on towards pit road. Why would he pit so early?
Yeah, I think these guys just misjudged how early they came in pit, and then he didn't even make it in his box. So, really disappointing for those two to realize it so late in the run, especially for Bennett. And I think exactly what you said. You know, maybe hope for a caution, maybe something. But these guys are going to be. These guys are going to be trapped, and yeah, that move on
unless
the
they have to two-stop to the end, unless no one can make it. What's the longest green flag run we've had?
About 30 laps, and that's what these guys are really banking on. These guys came a little bit shy of it, but come back to the action up towards the front though. Yep. The Merchant's on the outside, and now he's got the 80 of Scott Formosa to his inside, and this could be side by side for this position. We might see something similar to what the 25 did a second ago, try and pop up right in front of him in the corner. The Merchant's been able to really do something with that 3 wide. We're going to see it here coming out of turn number 4 for the lead. The 6 at the very bottom of the track, and he's going to have the momentum. He should be able to swing right up to the top. Wow, he got 2 for the lead. That's the number 6. Actually, that's him unlapping himself, so that was exciting. I thought that was for the lead, but it wasn't. But still, he's going to unlap himself, and if these guys do have to pit, that might be good for him. But the 25 of Kyle Manger going to be back in the picture. But yeah, I think really the 6 pit too. I
am really confused because you can do about 30 laps. So for reference, looking at the 57 of Seth the Merchant, before his last pit stop, the previous time he had been down pit road would have been with that caution at lap 67. He then came down pit road at lap number 33. So you can do what is that, roughly 34 laps, 33 laps or so on a green flag run. I don't understand why these guys that pit at lap 90, 91, one, I don't understand why you'd ever pit that early, because I think no matter what, you're just, one, if you short stop and if they just stay out, even if you get a caution, you're going to be a lap down. And 2, you have to come down no matter what. I think it's just a terrible strategy decision in the first place. But 2, you can go a full, 30-some-odd laps on a run, and you're coming down after 18 laps and saying, oh, I can't make it on fuel. Why aren't you filling the truck up and just staying out hoping for a caution? Because a caution bails you out 100%.
I think that'll be answered here in the next 14 laps here, or 15 laps, and to see if these guys can make it to it, because they're not holding anything back. And I think that's something, if you were to be holding any sort of regards towards fuel, you'd be saving.
Aaron Bennett's not going to unlap himself in 16 laps.
But if these guys have to pit at the front, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that is possible. Well, no, they can make it. They can make it. Seth the Merchant, he came down pit road. Like I said, he went 33 laps on his tank of fuel, 32 laps, and he came down pit road on lap number 103 with 33 laps to go. I think Seth the Merchant can make it to the end.
Stuff we have to see here. 14 laps to go at this next time by, and it's still rough action between the number 80 of Scott Formosa and Kyle Manger. If these guys fight for too much, it'll be Seth the Merchant saying goodbye once again, but it has not been as easy this time around. Formosa's really put up a hard-fought fight here, trying to get this lead as he went to the inside, almost had it, and also the 25 of Kyle Manger did the same thing. Just grabbing that lead is just not easy. And grabbing any positions has not been easy tonight as we fall under 15 laps to go. And wow, I don't know if it was a big wiggle from the 57 on entrance, but definitely the 80 caught up to him fairly quickly. This is going to be the 25 back in. He's going to have a lot of momentum. He's either going to push or he's going to go to the inside. Neither stays behind him. These 3 trucks really neck and neck. And then you've got Robert Gillenwater right behind them. If anything happens, he's going to be right there waiting for something to, kind of waiting for a bird, kind of like a hawk above water, waiting for a fish to pop out. That's
like
what he's doing
seagull
right now. Like I see exactly.
Like a pelican, something really aggressive and feisty. And that people might laugh, but if you've ever encountered a pelican, they are jerks.
Interesting analogy, but but we will actually. Robert's actually catching all three of these guys, which this is interesting. He caught these guys by half a tenth that last lap. He was above 7 tenths. Now he's under 6.5. So he is maybe one of the fastest trucks here. I don't think he can pass all three of these trucks to get the win, but he will. He is going to be a factor. He just took another about 7 tenths off that last time. So Bob Gillenwater, he's in business.
And he's on the same tires. All these guys that you see on your screen, they came down pit road lap 101, lap 102. So the tire strategy and fuel situation for this entire group is the same. You're going to see him move from the 25. He's going to look down to the bottom on the 80 of Scott Formosa. There's a gap on the top, but does he have the room to get the truck there? He's going to try to make the 80 lift. And the 80, instead of lifting out of it, he's going to find himself on the outside wall. And that's sometimes here at Kansas, Austin, the only way you can make moves to basically just force that truck up there to make a mistake, and they'll get into the outside wall. It works about. It is something that you can potentially try to bring out, try to make happen. Normally drivers, they won't flinch and they won't make that mistake, but if they do, it's an easy pass for position. And that 25 of Kyle Manger, he now finds himself running in second, chasing down to Merchant.
Yeah, when it gets late in the race like this with 10 laps to go at the start-finish line, you can't hold anything back, and I think Kyle Manger did the right move, and I don't think it was a dirty move at all by him just putting the move there and trying to make it work, trying to make it stick, and if he gets trying to get in the head of the 80, that's exactly what he wants. So with the 25 of Manger being right there, and Scott Formosa's not out of it. He's still right there. The damage is not slowing him down, and he's actually kind of going a little bit more on edge, I think, because he was kind of in a good position to make something happen. But these three, with less than 10 laps to go, I think we're looking for something really big to happen. As we got one driver at the bottom of the track, I got a little loose, and he's trying to stay out of everyone's way right now. But these three drivers, and Robert Gillenwater, he did lose some time as he's now 1.1 seconds back. Anything can happen right now with these guys, as I'm sure we're going to see a move down to the bottom of the last lap that'll probably be a little more aggressive than we've seen all night. I think that's the only way you're going to get away with it is if you do it truly dirt track style way.
Yeah, you really have to sort of slide that truck up super aggressive. Like you said, you have to drive it straight down to the bottom, and you have to get up to the top as quickly as you can while still maintaining speed. We saw that from the 25 machine when Kyle attempted to make that move, but inside of 10 laps to go, other thing to keep in mind, Austin, is you sort of said that there might be an issue with fuel, and if you have to come down pit road, I mean, how long do you wait? Do you wait until the last possible moment, maybe hoping for a caution, or do you come down a little bit early and maybe take right side tires while you get that splash and get yourself back out on the racetrack and run a couple quick laps? Maybe that car that's the 25 or the 80, or depending who you are in the situation, maybe to either get clear or maybe you can jump a spot or two.
I think if it was me and I ran out of fuel this late in the game, I'd just run the dang tank dry and just keep trying it unless there's no possibility of even making it to the start-finish line. And then I'd park it in the pit stall and just call it a day, just because even if you do go back out there's
just
no way.
Full tilt.
Yeah, just exactly full tilt, no holds bargain. But at any rate, Kyle Manger's actually losing Seth DeMerchant. DeMerchant's putting on the wick, I think, at this point, and really, if DeMerchant keeps this lead, there's going to be no dive bomb move even available to the 25 of Kyle Manger. I think it'll be more of a battle for second, but I think it's kind of coming to an anticlimactic end just because Seth DeMerchant is starting to really pull away.
Yeah, I mean, DeMerchant is just sort of running away with this thing, and we got two trucks in the wall. Manger sort of scraped it, and Formosa got into it pretty hard. So Formosa in that 80 machine, he is really pushing this truck as we're coming to 5 laps to go, and well, if that's not a sign of it, I don't know what would be. Is he's going to try to hopefully not have too much damage, but he's trying to reel in that 25 anyway, anyhow. As Bob Gillenwater, by the way, we talked about how he was close to this group. He's now 2 seconds back off that little lead trio of DeMerchant, Manger, and Formosa.
Quite possible that he might be having to think about fuel just at least a little bit. So seeing the fact that he's got 3.3 seconds or 1 second back to Scott Simley, and then about I'd say about 12 seconds between him and Christian Peterson, I think he can At least be a little easy on it. If he just stays where he's at, he'll have a top 5 finish. No need to break a sweat over this one. And I know him and Scott Simley drive really nice with each other, so I'm sure they'll be cordial about whatever happens. So less than 5 laps to go. Seth Merchant paves the way right now, and it's been basically his race. It's, aside from when we had some pit stops and a couple of exchanges in the corners, but the Merchant's really been putting on a clinic tonight. I think if anything happens, it would be a shame.
As behind, we got a yellow. Well, we have a truck spinning to the inside. He saved it. It was Jeff Ryan. I thought we were going to have a yellow. Did a good job to hold on to that thing on the old tires, but that was a big wiggle from the 10 truck.
And Robert Gilwater almost got into
we got
him.
Another spin on the front straightaway. Michael Atkins Jr. stopped in the grass.
Oh no, lots of action happening now, and he's actually gonna take a tow. Like I said, he got loose in the middle of turns 3 and 4 and actually nosed it in the outside wall. Good for everyone else that they did not bring out a caution, but that is going to be bad news for him. He does park the truck on down on pit road, and that's going to be the end of the night for him. So bad for him. I think good for everyone behind him that now gets a free position from that. Is nothing's truly free. It always comes at the expense of something else. Sadly, it was him getting the outside wall and then having to bring it down pit roads. 2 laps to go. Double popsicle sticks in the air. Seth Merchant just needs to coast this one out. 1.1 seconds to Kyle Manger, and he just has to really. It'll be the first time. We've had a 2-time winner in a stage right now. As these guys right now, he's on a tear. 3 wins so far in this championship hunt. And he's gonna be a favorite here for if he has anything to say about it.
And last time I've seen someone dominate a race like this, he's going to lead his 121st lap. Keep in mind, only 134 on the docket, and he's likely going to lead the last one as well. Last time I can think of someone dominating like this coupe is going to be Truex Jr. at the 600, I believe, last year or the year before. That number 57 machine is the Merchant. He has been dominant tonight.
And the number 57 of the Merchant comes off of turn number 2, and will easily sail this one into 3 and 4. Just needs to make just a little bit of adjustments through the wheel and gas it off in turn number 4, and he'll have himself another victory. 3 in this chase. 8 wins on the season goes to Seth Merchant. He'll get the victory here tonight at Kansas and the Sunflower State. And after 134 laps of competition, 122 laps led. That is an incredible feat. And behind him will finish Kyle Manger and Scott Formosa in 2nd and 3rd.
Yeah, what a run from them, and it's a phenomenal stat when you think, I mean, 122 laps led. If those guys who had sort of gone with the early pit stop strategy, and if they stayed out, that could have easily been about 80 or 90 laps. So he had a little bit of help of getting that 122 laps led number, but my oh my, he still had to be dominant to be anywhere close to that, even if he came off the back of what you and I think might be some people making some strategy mistakes. But regardless, to 57, he's pulling up towards start finish, and I think we're about to see him burn him down.
Yeah, that's exactly what he'll do. He'll burn some rubber on the tires and have a little fun here at the Kansas Speedway. So we'll go through your full field rundown, see where your favorite drivers finished here. Seth Merchant wins another one here. That'll be 8th on the season, and that's quite a feat. It's getting close to 10% or 50% here for Seth Merchant and his total number of starts here. Kyle Manger, he finishes 2nd. Scott Formosa 3rd. Scott Simley will finish 4th, and then Bob Gilwater finishes 5th. Jimmy Walker 6th. Michael Priester 7th. Christian Peterson 8th. Aaron Bennett 9th. And 10th goes to Tommy Ryan. Bobby Terrell would be the last driver finishing on the lead lap. And then Michael Atkins Jr. would finish 12th. All these drivers had issues earlier on in the race. Jeff Ryan, Steve Herring, John Jenkins, Ralph Vander Vorsta, and Matt Mara, along with John Wilco. They would finish out the 18 truck field. So we've been here at Kansas. We'll be back on the other side of things. Talk to your winners, Seth Merchant, Kyle Manger, and Scott Formosa here just a little bit on LSRTV.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of LSRTV and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Live Sim Racing LLC and iRacing.com Motorsport Simulations. LSRTV would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.
Welcome back to the Kansas Speedway as we have caught up with your winner here after 200 miles at the Kansas Speedway. Seth the Merchant here in Victory Lane. Seth, you came and you put on, I would say, a clinic for these guys, and you got the pole, did a really good job of making sure that you kept yourself plenty of distance. There were some times when you had teammates putting hardcore moves on you, and then you also had points where you had to really navigate. But realistically, you had your nose in clean air for most of the day. How'd you put this one together?
Yeah, just qualifying's big here. Kind of just put myself out front, and then just manage tires based off the pace of the guys behind me, and just manage the gap all race. And then we had that strategy there at the end. Everyone is saving gas. We had those four guys, and one lap one person would go, one lap the other person would go, and just crazy there at the end, and just able to save enough fuel and edge out Menger.
And how close was it on? How close was it on fuel? Because we had talked about how some drivers were taking a really off strategy, one that we thought was just a little bit different and something that we didn't think was going to work to begin with, and then it didn't. What was your guys' thought process through the strategy of pitting?
Well, we saw there before we pitted the last time that we could go about 31, 32 laps, and that was like really without saving. So as soon as we pitted, we came out of the pits, and our pace was like 2 or 3 seconds a lap slower than what it was the previous run, and just try to get those extra 4 or 5 laps on those guys that they all pitted like 2 or 3 laps before us. So we kind of knew that they weren't going to make it. Scott pitted 1 lap before us, so we were kind of questioning if he could make it, but he made it there at the end, and just yeah.
Now going into the next stage of the championship, we do want to kind of see how you have what kind of plan you have for the next few tracks. Looks like after tonight's race at Kansas, it's going to be Martinsville, Texas, Phoenix, and then Homestead. And you're going to be going on to the next round, of course, with tonight's win. And any of those tracks that kind of pull, are really in your wheelhouse?
Probably just Texas. I kind of struggle on Martinsville and Phoenix. 2 tracks have not been the best speed-wise, but I think I can just try to go out there and get a decent finish for points, and points race that race, and then hopefully maybe win Texas and kind of just bank off that to get into Homestead.
We will definitely have to see. Any shout-out sponsors before we let you go?
Just Peterson Irrigation for me on the truck, like always. All the guys at Vinci Racing, Scott Austin for spotting us tonight, and you guys for broadcast.
All right, there you have it, Seth the Merchant. I'll send it down to Reddy, who will catch up with Kyle Manger.
Yeah, I'm stood by with Manger. We'll eventually get it right. No, we won't. Kyle, that number 25 truck was quick, and you were part of some fun battles all night. One of the ones I believe you were involved with, that number 3 truck of Aaron Bennett, he was pretty aggressive trying to make moves down low, but was never able to make anything happen.
Yeah, man, it was a really fun race. Seth was class of the field, obviously. We had my shot there at the beginning of that last run there, but just couldn't complete the pass. But yeah, Aaron was making some bold passes, and I took note there for the end. And we're here to race, we're not in the chase. So I thought everyone put on a good show, and yeah, fun race.
And now talking about that one, I mean, we saw sort of towards the tail end of this one about, I'd say 50, 40 laps ago. So maybe not the tail end, sort of the meat and bones of the thing and about the middle of it. We saw actually a phase where that number 3 truck was able to make some passes work down on the bottom. He's able to make that stick. Was that top groove getting slick, or was it because people were just saving so much fuel that he maybe was not? We saw him go with a completely different strategy that ended up not panning out. So what was the deal on that one? Was it the upper groove sort of going away a little bit and there was a window on the tires where the bottom could work? Or was it just you guys saving and he wasn't, and he just had the pace advantage because of that? Well,
I think in his scenario, he had he had to do something to try winning the race. Seth was pulling away, so if he cycles back around past us, which he did on pit stops, and a caution comes out, then he's in a pretty good spot. So I think that was his only play to try getting around us, and for us, we knew we could make it all the way on fuel, so that was our best strategy to get the finishes that we deserved for the race, and it worked out.
Well, congrats on the good run, Kyle. Very well deserved. You were super quick and super comfortable up on that top pretty much all night. Before we let you go, who gets it done for that 25 truck?
Got to thank P-Money Designs and Six Man Racing and Vincia Racing. Seth, he's the Kyle Larson of iRacing, running the top groove here, so deserved the win. And Christian Peterson for advancing to the next round of the chase.
Well, Coop, two teammates put on a pretty good show, and it was a pretty good race, I think, from our perspective as well.
Thank you. See you next week.
See you next week, Kyle.
Back up into the booth. I don't know if Ramos is going to quite make it out to get a word from him, but nonetheless, he does score a good finish in the third position. So one of his best finishes, I think, this season. So a big shout out to him. I don't know if we'll be able to get a chance to talk with him, but from all of us here at LSRTV, I've been Austin Coop. He's been Randy Chenworth, and you were witnessing the first round or the second round of the chase for the BNC Lawn Landscaping Truck Series conclude. There'll be 6 drivers moving on, and that will be determined in the weeks to come as the results become official. So from all of us, we say thank you, and we'll see you at the next track.